Pandebono cheese bites, gluten-free naturally, made in 6 minutes, baked in 10. Delicious! Come and watch. Hi, this is Chef Pachi, and today I have an amazing recipe for you. It is pandebonos, and they are tapioca or cassava breads that are made with cheese. First thing you need is 12 ounces of white cheese or Mexican cheese, and sometimes they're very salty, so try a little bit. Place it in your food processor and grind it for about 1 minute until it all grinds into tiny pieces. Then we're gonna add all of the rest of the ingredients at once. Half a cup of tapioca starch or cassava starch, either of the two work perfectly. 2 tablespoons of yellow or white corn masa flour. A teaspoon of salt if your cheese doesn't have salt, and a teaspoon of sugar. Then 1 egg. That's it. It's amazing, and this recipe makes about 20 mini pandebono bites. They are delicious. I mean, they are out of this world. You can freeze them once you form them, and you can bake them 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 4 at a time. You can give them to friends, and you can also form them like the traditional pandebono that are round. You can do that with a pastry bag. You can just place them on a pastry bag and pipe them on top of a baking pan. Make sure your baking pan is either lined or sprayed or buttered. It actually takes 2 minutes, 2 whole minutes of mixing in the food processor, because we want all of that cheese to create a masa. You want it all to blend in with the flours and the egg and everything to be one new ingredient. So we open our food processor and check it out. It's super soft. That's why I say you can pipe your pandebonos into a baking sheet. You see, I mix a little bit on my fingers, and that way I know if there is any cheese that has not blended. Then I make sure that all my mini baking pans are greased and floured, and I take an ice cream scoop. You don't have to have an ice cream scoop, but if you do, it's much easier and faster. And you don't have to get your hands dirty. You can also just make little balls by hand. If you want to make little balls by hand, put all of the masa or the mixture onto a piece of parchment paper, and then make a roll like you were making any kind of Play-Doh roll. Make your roll, cut it into pieces, and then make balls from each piece. It is super simple. My granddaughter loves to do this, and she does them all sorts of shapes, and they come out perfect because it's the same flavor. You can do them any size you want. If you make them much bigger, what I do is that I poke my finger in the center to create a hole, and it plumps up again, but it helps it bake evenly through the center. Now we're gonna bake them for 10 minutes at 375 in an air fryer or in a high convection oven like mine. If not, try to go to 400 in a convection or 425 on a regular oven. So this is a recipe of a book that I made that is called Secrets of Colombian Cooking, and it's been in the market now for 14 years, and it's amazing. This is the shape of the traditional pandebonos, which I think you can perfectly make if you want to make something different. Now watch them in the oven. They're rising and they look beautiful, and they are the most delicious quick breads. Plus they are naturally gluten-free, and I mean they're a great bite for friends, for children. They love them because they are able to make the little balls or whatever shape they want, and then you put them on a baking pan in the oven and they rise. They don't have to be mini muffin cups, mini muffin pans like I have. They could be regular baking pans. And when they're ready, you'll see that the bottoms are golden. Look at that. They're beautiful. That's it. 10 minutes later, it takes about 6 minutes to make them all together. From the time you take out your cheese from the fridge and your egg, and take out the other two ingredients, which are the corn flour and the tapioca or the cassava starch. These are amazing little bites. And now I have a surprise for you. I made some different ones with some fresh basil leaves, which I washed and dried, because if they're too wet, they're not gonna allow the little breads to rise as much. Actually, they don't rise as much, but they're beautiful and delicious. And here we add 2 cups of the basil leaves and an extra egg, because it needs this extra egg to help these rise when they're in the oven. So we go through the same process. Process the cheese. You can actually have the other process ready or do it all at the same time. Once you have your mix or your dough, it's like a cookie dough, ready, then you just place them on your baking pan, or you can make rounds or you can make logs, whatever shape you want. These basil ones are a little more wet, so it's easier to make them on a pan with an ice cream scoop or with a piping mat. But in any case, they are fantastic. And if you're trying to make balls with them and they stick, add some cassava starch or some tapioca starch to your hands. Here they go into the buttered baking pans, into the oven. 10 minutes at 400 degrees if it's convection, 375 if it's an air fryer. Actually 360, I don't think they come in 375. And look at them, here they come. Beautiful, amazing, rising, and some of them were taken out before because we couldn't wait to eat them. That's why we're missing some in the pan. But here we go, all of our beautiful, beautiful basil cassava breads. How about that? They are beautiful, delicious. You're gonna love them. I mean, they are something totally new and they're fantastic. Remember that if your cheese is very salty, you don't add the teaspoon of salt. And now we're gonna make another change to the original recipe. You can store them in bags or in containers and freeze them. Remember the original recipe, they were only cheese and the cassava or the tapioca starch plus the corn flour. Now we're gonna make a new kind. Here we go. Same recipe. Half a cup of the cassava flour, 2 tablespoons of the corn flour, and that corn flour is white, by the way. Half a teaspoon of salt, because this cheese had some salt, and a teaspoon of sugar. That I put to my dry ingredients. Now I grate the cheese just like I did before. Then I just dump all of the dry ingredients and the egg into the mixer. Now there are 2 things you can do right now. You can add some dried herbs inside, or you can just do what I did this time, that I just placed some outside. Remember, dried herbs are a little stronger than fresh herbs because they concentrate. So if you're gonna add about half a teaspoon, so that they're aromatic, but they're not overwhelmingly herbed or spiced. Check it out. Like the first time, first it creates a ball. Then you keep processing for a whole 2 minutes until it stops being a ball and becomes like a cookie dough. It's perfect. That's when we know that it already is perfectly mixed and that there are no little crumbs of cheese in your mixture. It's completely silky and perfect. So same thing, we butter our pans. I actually added some spray to these pans a little bit, and then I mix it with a brush. Make our little balls because I baked some, and the other I freeze. Those are my dried herbs. You could have actually seen the video, or if not, go watch it. It's amazing because you just leave them in the fridge and that's it. And then mix them and make amazing mixes or leave them on their own. So I sprinkle them on each little cheese ball and I mix them so that they get some on the bottom and some on the top. Just mix them like that. If you want to add it inside, it's perfectly all right. Then we just put them in the little baking pans like we did with the other ones and take them to the oven. Check it out, they're beautiful, perfect and delicious. If you want to freeze them with your dry herb because when they're frozen, it's harder for them to stick. And you won't believe it, this little bit of herb already becomes aromatic in the oven and it's just enough. You don't have to add much more. So here we go, into the oven. We're gonna bake these 4 because if we eat more, I think we're gonna all die because you just keep eating them. They're so good that you just keep eating them. Look at them rising in the oven beautifully. Here they go. Oh my goodness, this is something I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite foods ever. So here we go, check it out. The bottoms are perfectly lightly golden. Some of the herbs are there and we are ready to serve them. Imagine if you have them with tea or if you have them with your favorite wine or drink. Just sit there, relax, and enjoy them warm out of the oven because you can actually put them frozen into the oven. If you put them frozen, they're gonna take about 2 extra minutes baking if they're this small. Check them out, beautiful. It's something out of this world. Here I have them served with some chips that I made of sweet potato. How about that? Amazing, healthy, delicious, completely gluten-free naturally. And a Colombian dish that you're all gonna love and learn how to have any time of the day and enjoy yourself. Remember, with Chef Pachi, delicious food, amazing mood. Enjoy, Chef Pachi! Welcome to my world of flavors and delicious food. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you can get noticed when I have a new video. Chef Pachi!